It's Saturday, April 4th, 2020. Making a video today about small business, the stimulus, and unemployment. And I want to recap on a few things that took place this week, and I want to talk about what's coming down the road here in America. So let's begin with that. What's coming? I don't usually make predictions, but I'm going to make one today. I believe that we are not going to really feel the serious pain until the end of summer, probably around September, October. And my reasoning is this. The unemployment benefits will be going out, and it's going to take weeks for a lot of people to get it. So if we just started in May, go June, July, August, right around September, it's run out. And now in some states, you'll be able to file for an extension if you are eligible. But right around September, for the most part, it's going to start running out. So September, October is going to be a critical time. The money runs out. We know that most of these jobs that people think that they're going back to, there will be no jobs for these people. Millions of people, not all, but millions of people will not have a job to return to. They're going to be stuck on unemployment for 4 months. It will run out by the end of summer, heading into fall. This is when I think we're going to hit a real critical time here in the U.S. What's going to happen when these people don't have a job to return to and the unemployment benefits run out? This is when things get very painful. This is when things get very serious and things get very dangerous. We are heading to the greatest depression the world has ever seen. And that right there tells me that we're going to have a big problem, because I know that most people, not all, but most people are not going to have a job to return to, because these companies, okay, many of them are not going to be able they're not going to be eligible for a small business loan. If they get it, there's no guarantee that that's going to save them. They're so far behind already that by taking another loan, they're even farther in debt, now in debt with the U.S. government. People are not just going to run out and spend money. They're going to be fearful about going out for their health. And for the most part, millions of people aren't going to have money to go out to spend. So how are these businesses going to survive? This is why they're not going to. And this is why millions of people are going to be unemployed in America. And at some point, the unemployment benefits run out, the money runs out, and then we have a real catastrophe on our hands here. We are heading into a depression here, ladies and gentlemen. JP Morgan just recently came out and said that they're predicting that 7 million people this week file for unemployment benefits. So we will get those numbers next week. I believe it's going to be on Thursday. And those numbers on next Thursday are going to tell us how many people this past week filed for unemployment benefits. JP Morgan saying that number will be 7 million people. Now, it could be 2 million, it could be 3 million, it could be 10 million. Nobody knows. This is just a prediction from JP Morgan. But if it is 7 million people or anything in that neighborhood, think about that. In 2 weeks, 10 million people filed for unemployment benefits. If this week, if that number is 7 million, that would make in 3 weeks, 17 million people would have filed for unemployment benefits. That's astronomical. That's horrific. It's not, I can't even fathom it. It's craziness. But if we're anywhere near that number, it's going to be a danger zone. But when you look at what's trending on Google right now, if you look at activity that is taking place on Google, they may not be very far off. There's been an implosion of Google searches for unemployment benefits. There's key phrases and words that are being used on Google Trends. Let me go over a couple of them with you. Here's a phrase. How do I file for unemployment? That's one of the most searched. Will I get fired? Can I file for unemployment online? These are key phrases that are being searched by the millions. When will I get my unemployment check? Another one. What if I can't pay my mortgage? How can I pay my rent? These are all key searches on Google right now. So people aren't searching as much now for reality stars and baseball players and football players. Reality is kicking in now to America. People are not as worried now as much about their football. They're worried more about how they're going to put food on the table, how they're going to make their mortgage payment, their rent, their car payment. Reality is coming to America. And I said in the past, reality is coming to these markets. It is coming to America. And now reality is knocking at the door. And unfortunately, these people are in massive trouble. They may get unemployment. They may get a $1,200 stimulus check, which may take around 20 weeks. 20 weeks to get a $1,200 stimulus check. I mean, these people are going to be so decimated in 20 weeks that $1,200 at that point won't even matter. I mean, we are at a point now that is getting so critical. There's an article I read today. It's on studyfinds.org, and it's talking about the hard times, the age of hard times now in America. And they did a survey, and this is what they found. And this is staggering. This should remind every one of you why it was so important to prepare and why it's so important to continue to prepare. It says right here, 25% of Americans have no emergency fund. They have zero money. They don't have $5 sitting at their house. They're absolutely 100% broke. 25% of Americans don't even have $5 saved up. This is insanity. 23% only have enough to get by for 3 weeks. Let me remind you, we are heading into the greatest, deepest, meanest, longest depression that the world has ever seen. 25% of Americans have zero money saved up. 23% only have enough to get by for 3 weeks. 42% said they will spend the $1,200 stimulus check right away on bare essentials like groceries. 50% said that they couldn't even pay a month's worth of expenses with their savings. This is going to be quite possibly the ugliest time in American history. People didn't listen. People didn't prepare. And look, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's not about who's right, who's wrong. There's millions of people out there that didn't even have the opportunity to save. They're working hand to mouth. There's no doubt about it. Making the bare minimum, working a side hustle, and barely keeping their heads above water. I get it. You know, when you look at the price of food, rent, taxes, a car, millions of people just doing whatever they can just to survive. But there were millions of people out there, you know the ones, all posting on social media, trying to be big shots, going broke, trying to look rich. It's just unfortunate how many people are going to pay such a severe price. So while people are hurting, while they're suffering, while they're going to lose their houses, they're going to lose their cars, they're going to lose their retirements, many may lose their pensions, people have lost half of their 401ks, stock market obliterated. Well, here's some good news. We have people like CEO David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs. He went out and bought 2 G7s, 2 private jets, fully loaded, $75 million apiece. David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs. You know, it's amazing how people trusted the banks, the financial institutions, the markets, and now they're being obliterated. But these people don't even care. They're taking your money. And Goldman Sachs has been lagging all year, right? They have a lagging performance. They don't even care. David Solomon goes out and buys 2 G7s fully loaded at $75 million a piece, literally slapping people in the face while they're going broke, while they're losing everything. Again, these are the financial institutions that you put your money in, your trust in, and your lives in. And the CEOs, just like they did back in 2008, they were buying golden toilet seats or golden toilets back in 2008 after they got the bailout money as they flew in on their private jets with their silver cups demanding bailouts. Well, here you have people like David Solomon, not even flinching, buying 2 G7s fully loaded while people are being obliterated, while the markets are obliterated. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Anybody that trusts these banks, who's playing these markets, who believes and puts faith in these markets, you need to have your head examined. Zero hedge today. Millions of small businesses stunned to learn that they are not eligible for bailout loans. Bank of America says you're only eligible if you have a business lending or business deposit relationship. To apply for the Paycheck Protection Program through Bank of America, you must have a pre-existing business and business deposit relationship with Bank of America as of February 15, 2020, a business credit card, a line of credit, or a loan. So businesses who ran a clear balance sheet without debt are seen as riskier than businesses that carry loans and they're being penalized because they never opened an account with Bank of America. So it gets even worse than that. But you know, again, people who think that everything's going to be okay because the stimulus package is here, because the unemployment benefits are here, because the $1,200 checks are here, they have no idea what's coming. Reuters, mom and pop shops worried that they're going to get squeezed out with small business aid. They fear they will be pitted against larger companies, hotel chains, investment funds in a race that started on Friday for the $350 billion of small business stimulus. I feel for the small mom and pop businesses, the small mom and pop retailers, restaurants, what have you. These people are going to just get completely vaporized here, many of them, and this is so sad. You know, you remember when there was all those little gas stations back in the day, the little private-owned gas stations, and then they just disappeared. You know, now it's just Mobil and Chevron and 76, all the big boys, right? All the little players just got eaten up, and this is what's kind of happening now. All the little restaurants, all the little retailers are all getting eaten up, and it's going to be nothing but the big boys. The term small business took on a new meaning when a 56-word provision was inserted into 148-124 word bill that raced through Congress. The term small business refers to companies that employ fewer than 500 workers, but now that includes large hotels and restaurant chains, as long as they employ less than 500 workers at a given location. So it's amazing how they get around that, right? Mom and pop family-owned operations account for 90% of restaurants. The smaller businesses are going to be pushed out by better equipped rivals that have the resources, the legal team to get the applications in quickly. You know, you got to think like, you know, the bigger players have connections at the banks while the little mom and pop, the small players don't. The big boys have the connections. They can pick up the phone and they can get to the right people at the banks. The bigger boys have the money to get things done while the little guy is hand to mouth. He doesn't have the team. He doesn't have the CPAs, the accountants, the lawyers, the advisors like the big players do. And this is why the little guys are going to get annihilated here. And it's really almost, again, a wealth transfer for the bigger players to come up and eat the little ones. And we've been talking about this for over a year. The biggest wealth transfer the world has seen is coming, and it's arrived. It's begun right now. How many small businesses are going to be eaten up and decimated here with this collapse? A lot, a lot. How many people will lose their homes to the banks again? A lot. How many people will lose their cars again? A lot. You know, it wasn't that long ago, 12 years ago, when we went through this and nobody learned a lesson. People repeated the same mistakes, living on credit cards, buying things with money they don't have, holding massive amounts of debt. And here we are. You know, people just said, well, there's going to be a reset. So, you know, I'm going to run my credit cards up and then I'm going to be forgiven when this whole thing collapses. Not going to work that way. And right now, if your credit card gets shut off next week, how are you going to eat? What happens when you get evicted? when the sheriff comes to your house. Are you going to talk about the reset? You do not want to be going into a recession, a depression, or a meltdown holding debt. Good article today. A corporate debt reckoning is coming. And again, this is going to reinforce your belief and my belief that we're going to see the biggest economic collapse, the greatest depression. We're quite literally going to see a meltdown here in America. Total U.S. non-financial corporate debt sits at just under $10 trillion. 1 in 6 companies is now a zombie company. This is how fake and manipulated everything is. How long did people think this was going to go on for? Zombie company, meaning this. Their interest expenses exceed the earnings before interest and taxes. As of the year end of 2019, the percentage of U.S. companies losing money over 12 months sat at around 40%. We talked about this numerous times. This whole economy, these markets, it's so fake how anybody couldn't see this. And people were gambling in these markets, thinking it was going to go on forever. Greater than 50% of outstanding debt is rated BBB. The lights are flashing red. Distressed debt in the U.S. has quadrupled in less than a week to nearly $1 trillion. Last week, bond Fed outflows quadrupled the previous record, which was set the previous week. The Fed announced it will dedicate $200 billion to buying corporate debt. It will prove to be far too little to stem the reckoning that is coming. We have seen years of financial engineering. There is a multitude of insidious risk hidden all throughout the system. You know, that line they keep feeding to you, the one they keep telling you on all the business shows, they tell you to buy into the dip, buy this market now, it's cheap, it's low, it's the deal of a lifetime. Remember this, debt has fueled these markets, it's fueled the salaries of the CEOs, it's suckered millions of people to jump into these markets, to double down, to bet the house on these markets. And sometimes when you bet really big, you lose really big. And millions of people are about to lose real big. I'm going to leave it right there on this beautiful Saturday evening. God bless every one of you. Share this video, give it a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe. I can't stress enough what's coming to America. It's going to be unlike anything we could even imagine. People are going to feel immense pain. America is going to be humbled. And I truly believe this is going to have to happen in order for this country to have a chance, in order to fix itself. It's got to be humbled. The fake markets, the fake economy have got to be crumbled. We do need a reset. We cannot keep going on in a fake illusion, a fake world like we are. A world where we just print our way out of debt. That has never worked, and it's not going to work. And now we are finding out it's not working. I've used this analogy many times. It's just like this country, this economy just couldn't stop eating, like, the 400 or 500, 600 pound obese person. And the doctor says, look, if you don't stop eating those Twinkies and eating all that bacon and eating all those cheese puffs and all those sweets and cakes and candy bars, if you don't stop it, if you don't get the weight under control, you're going to die. You're going to die. And the doctor is telling America, if you don't stop printing money, if you don't stop living on debt, you're going to die. And we're seeing the economy now going into cardiac arrest, just like the 500-pound obese patient who couldn't stop eating. We have an economy of consumption, consuming debt, buying things with money we don't have, using credit to just continue this consumption. The economy is now going into cardiac arrest. It is not responding to the drugs, okay? And And we're at a point now where we've got to cut off all the Twinkies, all the cheese puffs, all the junk food, and we've got to get our health under control. Just like we've got to get our economy under control, our spending under control. And that obese person is going to be angry. They're going to be upset because they want to have a piece of cake. They want a cookie. They want it now, but they can't have it. Because if they have it, they're going to die. And America's going to feel the same pain when it can't have that injection of cash, of that funny money, those fake injections of printed money. It's going to get angry. It's going to get angry when it doesn't get what it wants because it's so used to having that slice of cake or, that $100 billion in repo injections, those corporate buybacks, the 0% interest rates, so easy. But if we don't get things under control, the patient dies and the economy dies and then the country dies. And in order to lose the weight, you're going to feel the pain. You're going to have to sweat. You're going to have to work out. You're going to have to use some self-control, something that most people don't use anymore. Certainly not our politicians, because we're almost at $24 trillion in debt, not including unfunded liabilities, Medicare, Medicaid, pensions. We're looking at $200 trillion of debt, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to feel pain because people aren't going to spend like they used to. The politicians won't be able to spend like they used to. This is why a gold standard is so important. It stops us from spending money we don't have. But either way, massive pain is going to be felt because we've got to get the spending under control. And guess what? We got to pay the debt down. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pleasant. That's why millions of people's lifestyles, their standard of living is about to change. People are going to be humbled. We're going to feel the pain. We're going to feel pain. We no longer can just buy things with money we don't have as a household, as an individual, or as a country. If we keep doing it, we're going to die. We're going to die, just like the obese patient's going to die if he keeps eating, the cake and the pizzas and the cookies and the Twinkies and all that. And the patient doesn't want to go on a diet. But if he doesn't, it's over. America must go on a diet, whether it wants to or not, in order for this country to continue to have a future economically, for it to exist. It's going to have to go on the biggest economic diet it has ever seen. I'm going to leave it there. God bless every one of you. Have a great weekend. Keep preparing. Keep walking close to God. Keep being awake. This is definitely no time for complacency. We're living in absolutely amazing times. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. Continue walking close to God. I will talk to every one of you very soon. Thanks for watching. God bless.